Again, from the album Badass and Blind, that is Raul Midon with the song titled Pedal to the Metal. And now, you know, I started out the program today with advising you all not to be out here driving in the streets like that. But we certainly want you to live your life with a certain set of urgency, with a certain opportunity to be able to fully engage in ways that matter to you and the people around you. And we want you to apply that same sense to joining us, convening with us as we are back together again. The bad siblings.
So now we're Donnie and Roberta Flack today.
Yes, back together with this week's edition of Reelblack Radio.
Jam-packed show. Oh, you didn't introduce me, so
yeah, and so Mike D is back in the house.
Protocol.
Yeah.
I've been corrected enough times to know.
I was gonna say, you know, you have a tendency to jump in without people are like, what new voice?
Who?
Yes,
well,
exactly.
If you don't know me by now,
but that's assuming that everybody tunes in every week. We might have somebody brand new that's tuning in right now.
Welcome. We have guests. We have a jam-packed show, and
that's right.
You know, not enough time, but plenty to talk about. So
exactly. So of course you are listening to WURD Radio, 96.1 FM, 900 AM here in Philadelphia, and this hour, Reelblack Radio Hour, is always about how we bring you the best good stories about Black folks on the large and small screen, and we have guests today.
Yeah, there's a great new movie. I'm super not prepared. This movie's so freaking good. No, but it's about health and wellness. All right, so here's the lead-in. So you know, black folks, we have a conception of what we should be eating, like soul food, black food, but it all comes from a very unhealthy place, right? Oh, do we have a guest online also? But this woman here is bringing to us on the 10th a great film that teaches us to be a lot better about our health. The movie's called The Invisible Vegan. And you know, please tell us about it. I have the names mixed up. I don't know who's in studio and who's online.
Yes, so my name is Gianna Murdoch, and my organization is called Get Fresh Daily, and we have thank you for having me here.
Indeed.
I'm so excited to be here. We have the enormous pleasure of hosting an event called the Glow Up. The Glow Up will be next Friday, November the 10th. The doors open at 6:30. The event starts at 7, and our featured event is screening the movie called The Invisible Vegan, a movie written and directed by Jasmine, who is going to be on this call. It is an amazing story that really tracks her journey through as a young Black woman, 30 years old, from Washington, D.C., and her journey into veganism. Yeah. Oh, you're from D.C.?
Yes.
All right. Her journey into veganism and the pushback that she got from her community and trying to embrace a healthy diet, which is something that a lot of us do come up with. So it's an amazing story. She does a great job. When I saw the trailer for it this summer, I knew that this was a film that Philadelphia was ready to see because of all of the work that all of us have done to forward messages regarding like access to healthy foods and nutrition education. And she does an amazing, it's kind of like, it's a movie for people of color, by people of color, and I feel like that's the message that we need to hear to really push this forward.
Hold on. But one of the things, this is very timely, and Mike probably doesn't even realize this, because just last night we have a collaborative effort here at the station. We have an initiative we call WURD Wellness.
Yes.
And so there's all kinds of things about health and wellness information that we try to bring to our listening audience on a regular basis. But just last night, we have a partnership with Independence Blue Cross in a facility that they have at 20th and Market called Independence Live.
Yes.
Where we do cooking demonstrations. They have a demonstration kitchen. And just last night, we had a guest, a chef, who was talking about green smoothies and how basically she cured her own arthritis.
Yes.
By realizing the inflammation that was going on in her body and eating differently, approaching food differently. So the fact that you're going to be screening this film should be great reinforcement to those people in our listening audience who came out last night, who heard her here on our airwaves, and just the ongoing effort that we have to get people to rethink how they are dealing with what they are ingesting and how it affects them. So this This is wonderful.
So it's funny because last night I was in a Whole Foods and I ran into I was promoting the event, and I ran into quite a few people who were coming from that event. So so it was great, like synchronicity. It was like, we just left, and here's this event. So it really was great. Yeah, it was a really great time.
Jasmine's on the line now.
Awesome.
Yes.
So let's bring Jasmine
Indeed.
to the
So good
conversation.
morning, Jasmine. Please join our conversation.
Good morning.
Congratulations.
Yes, and tell us about your film.
Okay, well, basically, you guys are pretty much covering it. One thing I wanted to do with this film, I wanted to reconnect, Black folk with our true culinary history. Because when you think about Black food history in this country, it's always like, soul food. We turn scraps into a delicacy, and that's a part of our culture. But it's not. Slave culture is not synonymous with Black culture. Our culture is much deeper and richer than that. So I wanted to show that in the film. And also in my own vegan journey, just kind of like highlight the different things that, because the movie touches on a bunch of different topics, all of which I've had some experience with going in on this vegan journey, like the health aspects, or how, a lot of men don't want to be vegan because they feel like it makes them soft, or how being vegan affects your sex life, or, how vegan is linked to racial politics in this country. So I kind of just wanted to create my first vegan film to get people to understand why this is an important decision and a political decision, and just plant the seed of thought, whether someone decides to become vegan based on my film or not. I just want them to have a different look at the situation.
Well, I got to jump in here because you represent my hometown. So I just needed to say that the whole idea of DC engaging in this conversation, I think, is really important. And I got to let you know, just in my own personal journey, I'm not vegan, but I don't eat red meat. And I need you to know that my Caribbean daddy blew a gasket the first time I came home for a holiday and told him that I was not going to eat his ham. He had a fit. And I wasn't expecting that reaction. And he basically, my journey into, just making different choices for myself was, he thought that was a statement about his parenting. And I think that a lot of people need to understand that while we might be making these health decisions for ourselves, it's difficult to anticipate the reaction that you might get from other people around you, because they insert themselves into the conversation about our own journey toward health and wellness.
Yeah. And I think that's the difference. And that's another thing that I point out in the film. Like, you told me, like, listen, I'm not a vegan, but I eat red meat. Okay, other outreach organizations, when they hear that, they might criticize you for that. Like, no, but you still eat this, you still participate in this system. And in my film, I go, like, you know what? Our culture is so, nuanced and unique. Like, just being real, you can't come at us like that. Like, sometimes you have to meet people where they are. And this film kind of does that. Like, if you watched it, you would say, like, oh, wow, I get it. But I don't feel like, she's trying to force me to behave a certain way in order to be acceptable right now, which is how a lot of other organizations, I feel, kind of drop the ball.
Gotcha.
And I think I just wanted to jump in there because that's part of the messaging that I just really resonated with me, because I do work with communities on the front line. And I think that what Jasmine has done so beautifully in this movie is really to reinforce that message that every step that you take in the direction of being healthy is a step in the right direction, and that people of color need to hear that this isn't about going in and throwing away everything in your cabinet and in your refrigerator. It's about what's that one healthy thing that we can do to be healthier, and then to continue to build and grow on that is absolutely, it does resonate much better in the communities of color.
Yeah, and I was going to say, and what you just described in terms of the way that people are sort of policing this conversation around veganism or vegetarianism, whatever that may be, is the same conversation that regrettably we sisters have around our hair. That this whole idea of how natural is natural, what are you allowed to do within the context of embracing your own, what grows out of your scalp, and it's a lot involved in how we aren't necessarily creating more welcoming communities around this idea of even trying to be our most natural and best selves.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Right, and now this is the excuse me, the good part about it. Maybe I should be eating less cheese,
yes,
according to Cedric the Entertainer, and who's featured in your film. Actually, I'm coming off a cold, but it's free $99. The whole glow up. Tell folks how they can register and get tickets.
Yeah, so the glow up is the reason why we have an incredible opportunity. We're partnering with Philadelphia Assembled, who just got off the air with you.
Yes.
So we are actually going to we're part of that exhibit.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, and it's going to be at the Perlman. And we were really excited about presenting this film in a space where, the glow up is really about kind of, this feeling that you have when you're being healthy, when you do something healthy for yourself, that every step that you're taking in that direction, you feel good about yourself and you're glowing. So that's why we dubbed it the glow up. We're going to screen the film, but immediately after the film, we're going to have an after party with vegan cocktails. DJ Mike Nice is going to be on the ones and twos.
Yay!
Vegan.
One of my favorite people.
Yes, he's amazing. I'm so excited to have him there. Actually, Fly Girl Stacy Wilson did my design, so that whole family was in there.
Yeah.
And some nice food samplings that are also vegan. So just the whole vibe is like feel good. Like we're going to be coming off this movie. It's going to be fantastic. And then guess what? We're being healthy in a whole turn up, glow up in a glow up way.
Yes.
So you can get tickets on Eventbrite. Go to letsglowup_Philly.eventbrite.com. And we only have 160 seats. We only have 160 seats. So what we are really trying to do is bring together people of color who are champions for health and wellness, leaders and influencers in the community, so that we can come together, have these conversations in a safe space. Just what we were saying before, we do get so much pushback that we want people to come together who are either vegan, veganish, thinking about it.
Like veganish.
In any place in that space. Yes, any place in that space, but we want to come together and say, it's okay. We have a community here that is supportive of you. And, we're already talking about bringing the film back and having another event where we can invite all of our constituents in a larger space and have even more food and more dance and more party and the whole thing.
Yes, indeed. And so, Jasmine, I just want to come back to you and talk about the idea. You reached out. Clearly, you have some great celebrities that are engaged with this. What was your process in thinking about who has been contributing to the conversation that you engage in the film? Like Cedric the Entertainer has been, huge in the conversation around diabetes and his own weight loss and what's been going on in his family. And so were you familiar with some of these people's family histories and life stories and engage them in that way to contribute to the film?
I wasn't, I didn't know all of their family histories. It was one of those things where I did research and I was trying to get people from, different walks of life within the movement. And someone like Cedric the Entertainer, I liked him because he's not 100% vegan. He's vegan-ish.
Vegan-ish for the win.
Yeah, like we have vegan-ish. And then some of the people in the film are not vegan, but that's what I wanted. I wanted to show like this is not a movement that wants to disclude people. This is not a movement to judge you if you're on your journey but not at the destination. So that played a huge part in it. And just researching what people say and what resonated with my personal journey. Yeah.
Yeah, in some ways it feels like sort of a sequel to Byron Hurt's movie Soul Food Junkies, which is in the fact that saying like if you really want to be conscious and African, it's not the soul food eating the leftovers of the slave the slave owners gave us, but going back to what the indigenous people of Africa, West Africa, what that diet would be like, and coming into tune with that, and coming into tune. Can you speak more to that for folks?
Okay, and so with with my documentary, that's another thing I bring to bring to task when the way people talk about soul food. Now, when you think about Black culture, we don't have. Where other cultures, I feel like their cultural traditions weren't disrupted in the same way ours were.
Yes.
So the little things that we have to hold on to them. So soul food is one of the few things that we do have. So when you talk about soul food, you can't bash it without context.
Right.
And so that's a part of my doc too. Like, okay, let's focus on the creativity and let's take soul food in a new direction, because a lot of the soul food dishes are plant-based. So like, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater and just present the information in a way that's not offensive and that's not degrading or demeaning to any part of our heritage.
And I'm so glad you say that too, because one of the things that when I hear that people have a very limited palate, and a lot of that is from exposure. One of the things that made me fully embrace Ethiopian food was the fact that it looked like what I got on my plate when I was growing up. There are greens, there's chicken a lot of times, or a hard-boiled egg, and there are, lentils and all these other things that if people just gave themselves a chance to explore vegan options in some of their meals, if they're not ready to go full-fledged, if they just thought about this idea that the food that grows out of the ground is what was intended for us to consume, then there's a lot for us to, just kind of open our minds and our hearts to, even if we haven't gotten to the full cultural and health reasons for why we should embrace it. There's just kind of a naturalness that is engaged in what vegan food is all about. And it sounds like your film fully takes us on that journey, and so I'm very much looking forward to seeing it.
And then also just taking and putting a little bit more time into your decisions. Like a lot of us, when we get dressed every morning, you want to look nice, you want to look your best, so you take time, like this color goes with this, blah blah blah. And I just want to see, especially people of color, especially because we have all these degenerative diseases running rampant in our communities, like I would just love to see people take that kind of time with the foods that they eat, the food that's going to help their brain run, the food that's going to help their heart, and either, load them up with cholesterol or make them healthy for the next 50 years. I want them to, when I'm eating a salad, like some people will say, like, look at Jasmine, you don't even eat real food. And it's like, I can identify everything in my salad. This is all real food. You are eating out of a box.
Right.
You look at the back of that box at the ingredients. A lot of that stuff, it does not even sound edible. Like, it's like trimonium glycerol. Like, okay. And then, people pop up with cancer, and of course the doctor's like, we don't know where it comes from. And it's just like BS. You have us eating chemicals we're not supposed to be eating. And then even if you look at the process, like how the animals are slaughtered, I know some people, they kind of turn a blind eye. They're just like, yeah, I know about the animal suffering, but I don't really care. But for me, I've always been a clean person, and I pride myself on cleanliness. And I see the way that, they deal with the animals that we eat. It's like, wait, you have, most of your chickens are cancerous. You have dead animals mixed in with the live ones. You're injecting them with hormones. Like, to me, none of that registers as clean. Like, even when I heard they allow a certain percentage of feces in, in the meat, it's just like, because, they can't control, like, when they gut the animals, like, where the insides, like, fall. And for me, that's a problem. It's like, you mean to
me too.
Doo-doo.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me doo-doo is in my hamburger right now?
Fast food nation.
That is completely unacceptable. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So just to get more people to be more conscious and make conscious decisions.
So
is what I was supposed to do.
So again, next Friday, 6:30 to 10 p.m., the Glow Up Philly, and it's at the Perlman Building, 2525 Pennsylvania Avenue, out in West Philly by Drexel. You have to go to no. Where's
from the Philadelphia Museum of Art?
Philadelphia? Okay, I'm thinking of a different building.
Pennsylvania Avenue.
Pennsylvania Avenue. All right, corrected. Thank you.
Of course.
But so for Get Fresh Daily, where can we find out more information about what you're doing?
You can absolutely go to getfreshdaily.org. You can follow us on Instagram at getfreshdaily. And I would also encourage you to check out one of our primary clients, as well as the beneficiary of this fundraising event, is Global Leadership Academy, who has an incredible wellness initiative. I've been working with them for 5 years. So please check out globalleadershipacademy.org, as well as our Instagram page, Get Healthy GLA, to really
shout out to Naomi Booker, and all the great work that she's doing there.
Yeah, and then Jasmine, I mean, for people who aren't in Philly, who won't be able to make it next Friday, where can they find out more about The Invisible Vegan?
We have an Instagram at The Invisible Vegan. We have a Twitter at Invisible Vegan. We have a Facebook page, or you can look up my stuff personally. It's under Jasmine C. Leyva, Leyva, and I'm on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Yes. Excellent. And besides DC, where your people from, Jasmine?
North Carolina.
Ah, okay. Because I was gonna say your surname is familiar to me, and I got to remember whether I've seen it on my tree or whether I've just encountered it. But you're from DC, so I'm sure that there's some connections there as well. But
you know, but that's my surname is that's my fiance's last name actually.
Oh, okay.
And I'm crazy like that, so I took it.
I just took it.
All love. That's what it is. But we certainly thank you for joining us on the air today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jasmine.
Thanks.
And with that, we got to take our next commercial break, ladies and gentlemen. But we are coming back with more of this week's edition of Reelblack Radio here, part of the TGIF edition of the Mojo. Stay tuned.
Start all over again.
From his new album, Nat King Cole and Me, that is Gregory Porter with a remake of the song titled Pick Yourself Up. And so, you know, and it's funny because as that was coming on, Mike was like, is that the Sammy version? No. And not to say, you know, Cousin Sammy always has a special place in my heart and in my playlist.
Well,
but,
well, that sounds like a great album. I'm gonna have to listen to that today. And I should, if people are looking for music picks, I just discovered, I didn't get a chance to see the documentary yet on George Michael, but as part of that reissue thing, they put out Listen Without Prejudice with a bonus disc. You're not a big George Michael fan?
I love George Michael. I don't need that album. Partly for that reason. I might individually go through and get the live stuff.
Yes,
that's part of it. It's a double album, but I don't need the remastered stuff. I already had 25.
Yeah.
So within that context,
you hear this music snob here?
Yeah. No, I'm just saying.
Well, you know how to. Well,
the same way that the Jackson family went and put out that horrible ass.
You still the Scream, the Thriller. Well, you still spend money on records. That's why.
Yes.
I just stream them, so it doesn't cost me extra money. I put my extra money into other stuff, but I don't. I
buy music.
You still have your free title. You can go listen to
which I never use.
Well,
after I downloaded 444, I don't even pay attention to it anymore.
Folks, listen to they put out for the first time MTV Unplugged George Michael, and I never saw the show when it was on, and the sound is incredible. It's the song selection.
Oh yeah, but that's what I mean. So the live, and anybody who listens to my Soul Sanctuary Radio podcast who knows me knows that I am a huge fan of live performances,
right? Because
it's a moment in time that is captured on the recording, and so I encourage everybody to support those projects. Because we talk about, kind of the changing music industry and everything else. It is very difficult for you to change a bad performance, but it is something to be invited into the space of an excellent performance.
Okay. And not sure why we're arguing. My blood pressure's up. I'm going to drink some of this peach juice.
Oh my gracious. We're not necessarily arguing. I'm just saying that
debating the merits of whether to listen to something for free online.
No, that's not what I said. I said that in people kind of putting these compilations together, that the remastered album, they already did remastered versions of the songs from Listen Without Prejudice on his 25, which is a double album of George Michael's greatest hits. Okay. So I'm saying I already have that. I already bought that. So I'm not going to buy this whole double album again for it remastered.
Well, it's just
yet
a
again.
taste. Look, I'm waiting. I'll buy Cleopatra Jones on Blu-ray. And I've had the DVD for years. I don't mind the remastering, the reissue. Just keep drudging it up. But yeah, it's better if you're going to charge full price. If you're going to pay full price, then there should be some added value to it.
Yeah.
I fully agree with that. Sort of, if you buy your music and you're only given the option of rebuying what you already have in order to get the one thing that you don't have, then that's kind of a double dip.
Right, yeah. And sometimes when these things are reissued, they say album only. So you can't even buy them as singles. You have to buy the whole project in order to get that one song that you wanted, which is what caused the downfall of the music industry in the first place, when people started making really bad albums with like 2 good songs.
Which is capitalism. I know our next guest who's on the line definitely has opinions about this, because he's one of the unsung comedians, been in the game forever, and right now he's turning his eye towards making a narrative feature, starring himself, called I Am Maurice, and
he's crowdfunding. So that means you need to listen up so that you can, determine how you can support.
WIL SYLVINCE, welcome to Reelblack Radio.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hey, so do you want, before we jump into I Am Maurice, do you want to chime into this double dipping grave robbing of George Michael and Michael Jackson? What happens to you?
Look. First of all, you have to understand there are tons of people who probably didn't buy Michael Jackson's or George Michael's album. Mm-hmm. All these young kids. So yes, it's good to release a product with some upgraded features to it so the young kids can listen, have a go at it, and then also for the old heads who love Michael Jackson or George Michael, and then let's say they lost their CD or their DVD or whatever, they lost it, and this is a good chance to get a better copy. You don't have to buy it if you have it already. But no one. It's not like it's forced.
Okay. Well, it's more. Well, yeah. Certainly, I think the George, when it's done tastefully, I agree. Like, there's a whole documentary that's tied into the reissue series of George Michael, and quite frankly, I wish that there were a lot more artists that were getting that type of treatment by their estates or by their record labels.
You get no argument from me on that.
The thing is, the reason they probably not is probably their need for it. Do they have a fan base like George Michael or Michael Jackson?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like oh, okay, we're gonna put all this money into repackaging this product, but then only 30 people gonna buy it. Or
I would buy the high five, remasters.
But of who though? That's what I'm saying.
No, he was talking about the group high five, which is a whole other thing. But yes,
I'd be there, relive my childhood that way. So WIL SYLVINCE, finally, it's been months trying to get you on this show, but we met down at Helium when you were here, and I was super excited about this film that you're going to make with Jerry LaMotte. So please share with us.
Well, basically, it's about a Haitian immigrant that comes to America to follow his passion of boxing, and it was two friends in Haiti. One friend was a go-getter, meaning like let's go to America, we figure it out. Let's do this and we'll figure it out. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. And then the other friend was a planner and a saver. No, let's plan, let's wait, let's save, let's figure out, let's ask some more questions. But the thing about planners and savers, they never save enough, they never plan enough, and then fear kicks in. Most of that is fear anyway. Mm-hmm. And so they never get to do what they need to do. So these two friends are torn apart by that one thing that separates them two the most. And ultimately, one of them had to finally come out to America and make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all of us are like I Am Maurice. You have a Maurice inside where you're passionate about something, but something is stopping you from chasing your dreams, chasing your love. Like most of us, we get up to go to work and be at that job that we don't want to be. And you get up early in the morning, go in traffic for an hour, then go be at some place for 8 hours, then go back in traffic, and then go back home and repeat. And you hate it. But what are you going to do? Is this going to be your life? Is this going to be, the life you ultimately want to live, or are you going to make a change? I'm not saying for you to quit your job right now, but you can start making small steps towards your passion, towards what you really want to do. Mm-hmm. And then when you get a big foothold, I'm not sure that's a correct phrase, but when you have enough, then you could make a bigger move and more small. So it's small increments towards your passion, as opposed to just staying somewhere, for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Well, you have to take risks. You're both involved in the world of boxing as well as comedy. Things that you're always sort of on a tightrope whenever you go out on stage or into the ring. Is that your nature, or is that challenging your fear?
Which one?
In terms of what leads you not to be programmed that way, or to take a life with more risk?
Me personally, what made me want to?
Yeah, being a comedian, being a boxer.
Well, I think when I was younger, the number one thing above all, like whatever I wanted to do, I always wanted to work for myself. I think that was always programming since I was a little kid. I just wanted to work for myself as opposed to work for someone else or I feel like whenever you work with someone else, it's their dream. You're basically living someone else's dream. You're helping them out with their dream. And I think that's okay. Most people don't, they rather do that. Not everybody could. If everybody was doing their own thing, then we would have no workers, or we'll have nobody to help you with your dream.
Of course.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm talking about the ones who have a passion, who want to do something so bad, but were afraid to take that step for whatever reason that is. I've seen so many cases when people who was at their worst. There was a girl who lost her job and she was crying. She was a waitress. She was a waitress for like 10 years, and she was crying like this. And then she went and got into making home clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Bit by bit, and then so that time that she was at home looking for another job. In that meantime, she started designing her own clothing, and then now she's got a nice large following online, and she's making 3 times as much money she was as a waitress.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, a dream can be anything, though. It doesn't necessarily like take yourself out of the workforce, but it's just like, hey, I just want to have this. I want to work towards that, and so I Am Maurice. His dream is to be a professional fighter. Yes.
Be a professional fighter and come to him. Look, in Haiti or in some countries, there's only so high you could get. That's why people come to America. America is like great land of opportunity, but it's not that easy. You still got to working.
Yeah.
So yes, there's a lot of opportunity here, but don't think it's going to come knocking on your door.
Okay, so how can we help you?
Film festival, huh?
How can we help you? I'm sold. How much money do you need?
Well, we technically trying to raise $101,000. The reason why $101,000 is kind of symbolic with the Statue of Liberty. When France gave us the Statue of Liberty, they gave it without a stand. So I think the mayor or the governor of New York went out and did the first crowdfunding ever. I think it might be the first crowdfunding ever where he raised money to get a stand for the Statue of Liberty, and they were able to raise $101,000, and thus now the Statue of Liberty is a place where all the immigrants come on Ellis Island. So that's the connection with the $101,000 and I Am Maurice coming from Haiti.
Nice.
Yeah, I love it. So and that's on Kickstarter.
Yeah, just basically go to Kickstarter and search I Am Maurice.
I Am Maurice.
Kickstarter.com and search I Am Maurice, and you see we did a trailer. Mike, I think you've seen the trailer, right?
Oh yeah, well yeah. So let people know about that. This whole movie started as a result of a short film that you did that has garnered millions of views. I'm sure a lot of people listening have already seen your work.
Right. Yeah. And thank you all those people who viewed it and said something positive about it.
And but the name of that's your whole short film is in its entirety on your Kickstarter page, but
yes, yep.
But yeah,
and then after the short, me and my writing partner Brian Kennedy, we talk about the project and who's involved. We got Jerry Lamont, he's a director who directed Blackout and a number of other things. We're moving it. We're moving it, man.
It's 9 days left as we speak.
9 days left, to support it. We're gonna make it happen.
No doubt.
Excellent. Well, we wish you much success with the fundraising effort, the crowdfunding effort, and certainly look forward to, after you get fully funded, to Mike have you back on the program so that we can talk more about where people can come actually sit down in a theater and watch it.
Yes, that'll be awesome.
Exactly. Well, before I let you go, I know you work with Patrice O'Neal. I always ask people for a Patrice O'Neal story.
Patrice O'Neal story. I remember one time, Patrice is the one that actually got me to a better health, because I used to weigh 220 pounds, and I dropped 70 pounds in like 11 months by changing my diet. So I used to do a bunch of diets, and then one day Patrice came and said, when you do those diets and you get back off it, you're basically going back to that lifestyle. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, he said, you have to completely give that up, And I'm like, but you're not doing it. I say, yeah, but I'm helping you out. I could tell you what to do. So and so I started because I never dreamed about giving up ice cream, dairy, bread, fried food. I never dreamed about chicken. So I for the first time in my life, I started entertaining that idea in my head. Just let it dance around and thinking of a life without these foods that I love. But you know what? These foods did not love me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they you know, it's like being in a relationship with someone where the sex is good, but then she beat you up, she embarrassed you in front of your friends, she cursed you out, but then she makes sweet love to you. But you know, that's what foods are like. Fast foods,
Church's fried chicken.
Where in your mouth is so good, but then when it goes down your body, it just destroys you. Hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes, swollen ankles, bad knees, sleeping disorders, sleeping problems. You know, you name it. I had these, and then Patrice putting that seed in my head, and then also he introduced me to this book called Skinny Bitch. Great book.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and this movie called Forks Over Knives. Food Inc. and Forks Over Knives.
Yeah.
And so that was it, and that got me started to like I need to change it. And then I made the decision of what do I really want? Do I want these foods, or do I want to live a healthier lifestyle? Once I made that decision, I wanted to live a healthy lifestyle. I knew that I had to give these foods up because it's not a healthy lifestyle. You know, it's just not these foods. They bring joy, but for a few minutes, and then it just destroys me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know,
sounds like you've already caught Invisible Vegan.
Story, but it was a long-lasting, life-changing.
Yeah, no, I mean, very, very great dude. But yeah, Invisible Vegan is one that you want to check out, and thank you so much for checking in with us. And again, I Am Maurice on Kickstarter. We've got 9 days to make this happen. So
yes, thank you, Will.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I'll see you later. Thank you.
All right, peace.
And with that, we got to take our final commercial break of this hour of today's program and come back to wrap it up with some more news about film and TV, things you should see, things that are going on as we wrap up this week's edition of Reelblack Radio here on the Mojo on WURD Radio. Stay tuned. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with New Orleans bounce music, that is given a special edge on this project. It's called A Beautiful World, combining the talents of Kermit Ruffins, who you just heard speaking into that, who was the former featured trumpeter for the Rebirth Brass Band and is now working on his solo career, and Irvin Mayfield from the long line of musicians from New Orleans playing in that tradition. And again, the new project is titled A Beautiful World, and that little interlude is called Trumpet Bounce, a little New Orleans bounce with some live trumpets over top of it. Love it, love it, love it.
Okay. Did you check out the new NERD record with Rihanna? That's sort of a bounce record.
Yep.
Were you a fan, or? I mean,
yep.
She's rapping and bouncing.
Oh, that's going to be a club banger for the holidays.
She's dancing lemon.
That's not her?
No, I mean, well, she shaved the girl's hair and the woman's dancing. I saw the video. I know. So
Nerd's backup dancers are called the Bays. And so the lead choreographer for the group, Rihanna, shaves her head in the video, and then she goes into an arcade and does this whole dance to this song Lemon. Trust me, it's not something I would necessarily buy. It's not like something that's necessarily my speed, but I can understand how if it comes on and I'm out partying, that I probably hit the dance floor because it's just got that kind of groove to it.
A shout out to
it. Has language that I can't play on the air.
Can't play a record on the air. But and then there's obviously, I felt like a little bit of Rosie Perez Do the Right Thing opening in the choreography and the way it was photographed. Not in the choreography, but I get it. Okay. Just for me, I didn't feel Rosie Perez in the choreography at all. I think it's kind of a self-determination. But Rosie Perez with the whole boxing getup was a theme. But I did enjoy it. Well, so you remember the old dating do's and don'ts movies from the 50s? Like how they used to social programming. Neither one of us were alive in the 50s. How are you going to say, do you remember the dating do's and don'ts? Well, they brought them back. It was, you can go on YouTube, dating do's and don'ts. See, Mike lives on YouTube and I do not. These were they back in the day when they had educational films. They would make films called Dating Do's and Don'ts. Okay. And they showed how young men and women should prepare for their dates. Lord have mercy. I think that'll be Brett Ratner's next production.
one in the long line. Of
I was waiting for that shoe to drop. I mean, I kind of alluded when we were talking about Tobak, who was his roommate, that, okay, that was the small fish. Brett's a little bigger. I mean, but still, there's plenty of sexism and sexual harassment happening, and it just seems to be a disease now. I think it's a social problem because only affecting rich and powerful white men so far. So I think we're going to have like an addendum. We're going to have a whole thing, like just a whole report, like why is this happening? How is this happening? Because, they put the lineup today on Yahoo. I haven't seen any black folks yet. I mean, it's going to happen, but...
I mean, I think it happens. I don't know that and we know that it happens in our communities, but when it comes to Hollywood, that the big fish was 2 years ago when it came to the conversation around Nate Parker. Beyond that, most people are saying that we don't, and it's not that we.
In terms of like circumventing power or whatever.
Yeah, well, Ryan Coogler, your name better not come up. I'm just thinking about people that have that kind of visibility, F. Gary Gray or whatever else. So hopefully,
I have a few people in my head, but I'm not going to bring them up. And Brett, truth be told, we went to school together, and I've heard Brett Ratner stories for years, and it's just. It's again, we'll check back in a year when all these Me Too's and things pop back up on your Facebook timeline as memories, and we'll see how far we've come. Brett has 9 lives with this because he's a big schmoozer, I hope that he doesn't make any more movies. I really was not looking forward to Rush Hour 4 or any of that stuff. So this may be a godsend, but I mean, the only thing I can say is it's not a surprise. I mean, anybody who's heard the stories and saw that we're going to go down this sexual harassment wormhole, he's an easy target for this. But what I can say about Brett and people like Brett and Tarantino, they had a lot of success not only because, I mean, they came in at a point where Hollywood needed the young hot thing, and Brett was specifically tied to blackness, right? He was the hip white guy who's Jewish who could go into a room and convince people that he knew what black was, and he programmed he did a lot of music videos, and he
See, I'm more familiar with his name tied to music videos than I am to film. I didn't see any of the Rush Hours in the theater. Right. I only saw them after they were in syndication.
A lot of his credibility came with I dated Serena Williams, I hang out with Russell Simmons and all this sort of thing. So and that was the 90s, and he made a lot of money for people. He made a lot of money for himself, and he spent a lot of money for people, and hopefully he saves some of it. So because he's gonna have to lawyer up big time to protect his rep.
Part of the fallout of last week is I really feel for anybody who was in the cast or on the production team of House of Cards. Yeah, that season 6 that got suspended after Kevin Spacey used his moment of his own admission of wrong pedophilia, basically, to also come out. Yeah, screw you, dude. Because it was awful. The whole move was awful.
It was not tasteful, and they shut down the production right now because they're investigating some claims of other people that have worked over the years on that show, and how it was a toxic environment for him to be going around grabbing people and coming on to people and stuff. So, we need to change the culture, but it's long ingrained, and it's a lot.
Like the casting couch is, still people don't use that phrase anymore, but it came from somewhere. So this is clearly a practice. This is almost a supposition around Hollywood that's been in place for years.
And I'm not making any excuses for Brett, but if you know the story, hurt people, and this person, he really knows how to game the system, and he was always after power because he basically illegitimate Cuban Jewish kid whose father was a multimillionaire, and he never really knew his dad, and had all these issues. So he's always used his tongue to manipulate himself into different situations, and he's always fashioned himself as a playboy. He was ready to do a movie on Hugh Hefner. So, I mean, again, none of this is a surprise. But he has
also suspended, by the way, for those of you who were hearing.
Yeah, it's all done for a while. But he'll rise again like a phoenix because he has a gift of gab. But I'm not worried about Brett, but I do feel for all the people who I've heard firsthand and secondhand. He's caused a lot of pain on his ascent, and I'm hoping that this is a time where people lose their fear in terms of calling people out to certain things. But at the same time, there's going to be a lot of collateral damage. There are a lot of these things are accusations. A lot of these things are just subject to the court of public opinion. And, you know, a lot of it's not fair. There were a lot of women that and a lot of people that did benefit from some of these powerful men's good graces who are not saying anything. So, but people have to be more respectful of one another, and we all have to seek justice in that. But no, we got to go.
Like 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Wendy Williams fainted.
Yep.
Felt bad, but what bothered me most was not that she fainted or how she looked when she hit the ground, but how many white people ran to her aid. Like, it just seems like, you know, like I was used to it when it was Soul Train and they zoom back a little far and you see all these white guys running the cameras. But come on, Wendy, you know, and anybody that's got these shows, they need some more black people on the scene.
Word.
I think Kevin ran to her, but the rest of the folks are all white.
Hey, well, listen,
my paycheck.
We will in the next hour. I'll tell you a little bit about a study that was commissioned by Color of Change. People know we have a great relationship with them about the lack of black folks in these key positions in Hollywood or in the industry in general, and it factors into what you just said. Yeah.
So I mean, those are the changes that we need to be speaking to as well, and then also Jewish Film Festival we're supporting as well. So that's it.
Excellent. Well, we thank you, as always, for bringing us great content. For those of you who might have tuned in a little bit late to today's segment, do not forget to put Friday, November 10th on your calendars. It is for a great event called the Glow Up that's taking place in conjunction with the Philadelphia Assembled installation at the Perelman Building of the Philadelphia Museum of Art, 2525 Pennsylvania Avenue, screening a film called The Invisible Vegan, a movement toward a new consciousness. So for all of you who support our WURD Wellness Initiative, for all of you who are rethinking what you are ingesting, this is a great time for you to consider that. And it's free, but there are suggested donations, and all of your donations will benefit both the Filmmaker and Global Leadership Academy. So great things to gather us together, and an after party with DJ Mike Nice and vegan cocktails.
Vegan cocktails.
And shout out, I was going to say shout out to, I still don't remember.
Stripped
is,
juice.
Yes, I am drinking a wonderful combination of pineapple, cranberry, and sage. It's good.
She got the good one. This is tasty too. It's a beet and pineapple. But somehow I got stuck with the beets. So if you see
me and beets don't get along. So
I know it's gonna catch up to me too. But it's healthy and
yes, I
need it. So
indeed. And so with that, we got to take our next break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, I'm continuing our conversation around film. We will be joined by Michelle Coltrane, daughter of John Coltrane, telling us more about this first ever documentary on her father, her family, the legacy in music that is opening up this season, the fall season of PBS's Independent Lens series. That and much more when we continue with this TGIF edition of the Mojo. Oh, and don't forget, Reelblack Radio moves to noon next week.
Moving on up.
Yeah, moving down.
What? Up to down. 12. 12 is up.
12 is down.
Down.
Up would be earlier in the morning. But noon next week is when you can catch Reelblack Radio. And we'll remind you of that when we come back. Stay tuned.